All right, post-game Twitter show. Filling in for Ev. Ev couldn't make it tonight. He had some issues. Ev's got a new dog. It's a long story, but Ev couldn't make it tonight, so we're filling in today on the post-game show for the Celtics. And, of course, they fall to the Lakers by 1 point at the end. And let's just get right into it. Let's talk about the final play because that's the play on everybody's minds. Now, Kemba Walker comes up with the ball after the steal on Anthony Davis. And Kemba Walker having a tough night. Kemba. And this is going to be a night that Kemba would love to have back. And Kemba's probably going to have a lot of these nights where he can't quite find it, at least early on here. And, we've seen it so far this season as he continues to come back from this knee issue. So he gets the ball there. He's having a tough night, and he tries to throw it to Brown. The pass isn't perfect. Brown has to stumble a little bit to get it. It's out of control. He's defended anyway. Even if it was a perfect pass, there's no guarantee Brown scores there. But very frustrating. I blame this one on Kemba's 4 points only. I mean, Kemba's going to be the scapegoat for this one, guys. I mean, it's pretty obvious. That was Lewis in the chat saying he blames Kemba. I don't blame you guys if you blame Kemba. I mean, we're going to start with that final play as we continue here. So Kemba, not a perfect pass, but he throws it to Brown. Brown stumbles a little bit. Ball finds its way back to Kemba, and Kemba takes a shot that we've seen Kemba hit before. You remember back in the playoffs against Philly, against Toronto, Kemba hit that shot a lot. So honestly, when he stepped back there, I didn't feel too bad about it. I said, Kemba's hit the shot before, and he's having a tough night, but one of these has got to find the bottom of the net, and you thought it might be that one, and it just wasn't. And it just kind of was the unperfect ending to the unperfect night that was Kemba's night. I see in the chat, it's Gear. We had a timeout, right? Celtics did have a timeout. You heard on the broadcast, Mark Jackson said, perhaps not, you don't use that timeout, right? Because they have Harrell on the floor. Maybe you like that matchup better. And that's what Brad Stevens decided to do, I guess. Running in transition, scoring opportunities are always easier in transition, but when it's so frantic, it's so chaotic, you can never bet on it. I see you guys still ragging on Kemba in the chat. Trade Kemba now, or is that overreacting? Frustrating like always. I mean, the problem with trading Kemba now is you're selling low. And if you tuned into the pregame show, you heard us talking about the possibility of trading Kemba maybe for Bradley Beal if the Celtics can work out a 3-team trade where Kemba goes somewhere else, or maybe Kemba goes to Washington and Westbrook goes somewhere else. Some way to ship Kemba out for that. That's probably unrealistic at this point unless Kemba starts playing better. But I understand why everybody's frustrated at Kemba Walker because he didn't have a good night. Tice with the layup put back but failed. Tice, he had a really good night, but he couldn't quite get it. I don't know if that at the end, if it was after the buzzer, it was close. I don't know if that would have counted if he got it off, but yeah, I mean, the real one everybody's going to be talking about is Kemba Walker taking that shot when Jaylen Brown's having a great night. Jason Tatum's having a great night. Tatum was the one who hit that shot on Anthony Davis and was the man down the stretch. Tatum was the go-to guy, and he was coming through on every turn. Jason Tatum was nails. He was nails in the final 2 minutes, Tatum. And he probably should have got the ball there. Kemba Walker, did he want redemption? Did he just want redemption? Did he just think, you know what? It hasn't been my night to this point, but now it's going to come. I got a good matchup. I know I'm going to get a good look. But at the end of the day, does Kemba Walker just have to subjugate himself and say, you know what, it's not my night? And Kemba Walker, does he just need to accept he's the third guy now? He's the third in line. Last year, he was the second guy. He was the second guy behind Jason Tatum. Now Brown has, de-seated him there. And it's not close. It's not close anymore. Last year, it was close with Brown and Kemba, you could even say. I mean, it wasn't, I don't think it was that close. But Kemba, was the second guy. But Brown was, on his heels. And so this year, it's not close. Kemba is clearly the third guy, very, very clearly. Brown and Tatum are 1A and 1B, and Kemba's 3. Like it's not close. So in that situation, Kemba should probably know to give the ball up. It's Gear. If Kemba plays better and still miss that shot, I would not be mad. And that's another thing. That's another great point that it comes down to is, yeah, if Kemba Walker, if he 5 of 10 that night, misses the final shot, maybe you live with it. If Kemba Walker has 18 points, and we know Kemba's done clutch stuff in the past, we know how good he can be. If he does that, maybe you're more okay with it. But the night he had to take that shot, you either need to make it or you need to have a better night. You can't have both those things happen. Lewis, again, the Jaylen Brown missed free throws. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. We'll spend a little more time on Kemba. Let's trade Kemba while he still has some value. I mean, how much value does he have? Like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think they can trade Kemba for? Because I don't think it's a lot. And as you guys probably know, I know some of you guys, I recognize some of you guys from Ev's streams. Ev couldn't do the post game tonight, filling in for Ev on the post games tonight. We have to talk about that Kemba play down the stretch. It's just really frustrating. Veronica in the chat, he hasn't had a good night in a while. Well, Kemba, you have to question it at some point how much he's going to be able to give you. I mean, he has had, I need to go look because I'm pretty sure since he's come back, he hasn't been completely terrible. I mean, he at least has had some moments where you look at it and you say, Kemba Walker's not going to be a total Sheldon something. Tonight was not one of those nights. And certainly tonight's the night to bash on Kemba. But his first 3 games back, or after the Knicks game, I should say. So his second, third, and fourth game back, 19 points, 21 points. Through those 3 games, it looked like, great, we're going to get a really good Kemba Walker this year. Really good. Maybe not all-star, but through those first 3 games, or through those first 4 games, those 3 on the back end of that, he looked good. He did. And then since then, 14 against San Antonio. I'm 6-15. Then tonight was a stinker. 4 points. I mean 4 points for Kemba Walker. So I know you guys want to talk about trading him now. This would be his lowest value. I mean, you have to wait another month to see, I guess, where water finds its level, and we'll find out how good Kemba Walker is this year. I don't think he's this bad. I still think he could be a 19, 20 point per game scorer, but tonight just wasn't his night. It just wasn't. And I thought it was going to be a good night for Kemba. I said on the pregame show, hey, look, Kemba Walker, the Lakers have Caldwell Pope and Schroeder in the backfield, and Schroeder, he was good tonight in the backcourt. And Schroeder was good tonight. Schroeder was great tonight, okay? And he hit that shot at the end, and, that and one that really looked like it was going to seal it for the Lakers. But Kemba didn't, LeBron and AD were the tough matchups. Kemba didn't have to work that hard on defense. So he should have been able to have a good night offensively, and he just didn't. Lewis, if Tatum wanted the shot, he would have been sprinting down the court. Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you're running transition like that. I guess I agree with you, but I'm not going to say Tatum didn't want the shot. I think Tatum always wants that shot no matter what. I think maybe he trusted his teammates at best. I mean, Jaylen Brown had the ball. But I'm not going to say the lucky thing about having those guys on your team is you can trust them. But unfortunately, they didn't make the play. Lewis, maybe he was expecting a timeout. I don't know who you're talking about. Tatum, maybe. I assume you're talking about Tatum expecting that timeout. Maybe that was the case. Should they have called it there? Maybe. When the time to call it would have been when Brown was stumbling, right? When Brown was stumbling around with the ball. But I still think in transition, you have to take your chances. The percentage of scoring in transition are just so good. I know you guys are talking about the chaos. None of those Kemba stats matter if he can't perform against good teams. He looks good against bad teams. I can't be the only one who sees this trend. I just mentioned 2 of his good games in there were against Philly. And look, I don't know if you want to talk about Cleveland, but Cleveland's played well this year, and they've been one of the best defenses. So certainly their backcourt isn't great defensively. But, he had 19 to 19 against Philly. I don't know what you want me to. How do you want me to? Say what do you want me to say other than that? I mean, it's still early on. Maybe the trend will more shake towards that argument during the season. But I'm not going to say that right now. He needed to ride the bench at the end of the fourth. So you're talking about Brad Stevens. I don't know. I mean, Tatum was hot. I think. The way it worked out, at least you might be talking about a bit different stretch of the fourth, but right down the stretch, the last 2 minutes, Tatum was rolling. And against the Lakers, you can't really, against a team that has as many stars as the Lakers, if you were playing a bottom dweller in the NBA, maybe you can argue you ride the bench. But when you're going against stars the Lakers have, you have to play your stars. Teague has to go. All right. So we talk about Kemba a lot. We'll talk about Kemba a lot through the show. I know, you guys want to rag on, keep ragging on Kemba. I'm not going to stop you guys. This is the night to rag on Kemba. Kemba deserves the heat, and you just got to hope that maybe this motivates him to get back on track. But this was bad, and this is the biggest stage you can have as a Celtics player playing against the Lakers, at least in the regular season. It doesn't get much bigger than this. You're playing the most hated rival, and it's expected to be a great game, and we did get another close, great game. But you have to come through. And when you don't, Celtics fans are going to be mad at you. And this is the most mad I've seen Celtics fans at a player in some time. Kemba Walker, he's been good here. And look, I was a fan of Gordon Hayward here, but he's been better than Gordon. I mean, he already made an All-Star team in his first year. He's dealing with something right now. He's trying to get back from it. And this was his worst game since he's been back. It's not like this has been a trend. It's not like he keeps doing this. This is Kemba Walker's first game. But you guys keep talking about Kemba in the chat. I saw someone mentioned earlier, and I forget who it was, but Jaylen Brown's 2 missed free throws. That was huge too. That was huge too. And Jaylen Brown, for all of the improvements he has made, and Jaylen Brown is almost, in my mind, a shoe-in to be an All-Star. If you can say a shoe-in. I mean, he is definitely going to be an All-Star this year, okay? But for all the improvements he's made in his career so far, his free throw shooting, I mean, it still leaves something to be desired. I don't want to say that too much because he has improved it year to year, but it's still under 80%. This year, 77%, which is an improvement. It's an improvement. So I don't want to speak too badly on it, but I mean, those two at the end, those are the two you can't miss. And I mean, the Celtics were kind of, I'm not going to say they were gifted those shots because it probably was a foul. It was a little bit of a late call. The Lakers didn't love it, but they didn't ultimately challenge it. But I don't know what it was that got in Jalen's head there. Maybe he thought they were going to challenge it. Maybe the late call messed with them, but that was tough. As a UConn fan, Cardiac Kemba hasn't been right yet this season. You're right. Yet this season, he hasn't. He's shown, like I said, in his first 4 games back, he had a few good ones in there. But, yeah, I mean, other than that, it hasn't been good. But it's still a short sample size. So we'll see, let's see how the rest of the month goes. Before we officially say we're going to trade Kemba Walker, get him out of here, ship him out. I know we're mad. I know the Celtics just lost to the Lakers. We're all a little heated. He had a terrible night. But just let's cool it down a little bit on the Kemba stuff. Be mad at him for tonight, but as far as the trade talk goes, let's hit the brakes, okay? Kemba Walker, just let's see how he finishes. I said a month. The month's over in like a day. Let's see, midway through February. Let's check that out and see how it goes. I guess you're right. He wanted Brown to take it, probably, yeah. And Brown, I mean, he just he lost his balance there. It wasn't a great pass. Trade Kemba and Langford and a pick for DeJounte Murray. The trade Kemba crew. Is that the new thing? We had trade Gordon for 2 years or maybe more. We had trade Gordon Hayward, and now we're getting the trade. Now is the new thing going to be trade Kemba? We're going to hear trade Kemba all the time. Like, guys, he had a bad night. You want to bash him for it? Great. You want to say how bad he was? Great. Say Kemba Walker failed in the biggest stage. Say Kemba Walker needs to play better against the Lakers. Say that, pick apart parts of his game. Talk about the shot. Maybe you don't like the shot. Maybe he needs to look to pass there. Say whatever you want about what he did tonight. But as far as trade Kemba goes, hold off for 2 reasons. One, I don't think he's this bad. I don't think anyone thinks he's this bad. I'm not saying you guys do, but he'll definitely turn it around and have better nights. And 2, you're selling low. Like, they're not going to trade Kemba Walker tomorrow. They're not going to get good value for Kemba Walker tomorrow. So if you want to trade Kemba, great. They're not doing it anytime soon. Maybe at the trade deadline, but other than that, it's going to be a while. Trade Kemba and picks for Lonzo Ball. More of these just coming in. Hayward is looking really good lately. Shoe in for All-Star. Yeah, so, hey, look, maybe this is a lesson. Maybe that's a lesson we can talk about. Gordon Hayward, everybody wanted to trade Gordon Hayward for a while. And ultimately, part of the reason that he maybe didn't look as good as everybody wanted him to here was because of where he was in the pecking order. And now that he's first in the pecking order in Charlotte, you can really see how great of a player he is. So when we translate that to Kemba, Kemba's definitely third in the pecking order right now. I'm not saying, that's an excuse for how he played tonight. He needs to shoot better. But maybe, it's a role he needs to adjust to. Last year was an adjustment for him being the second option. He's never been the third option, probably in his life. Probably in his entire life, Kemba Walker's never been the third option. At UConn and Charlotte, never. Kemba Walker has never been the third option on any team anywhere. So I want to give him this excuse, but not only is he recovering from this knee injury, he's adjusting to a role he's never been in before, and we need to give him a little bit of leeway to get used to that. He's an injury liability also. Yeah, he is. Kemba's knee is an issue. Can't deny it anymore. Guys, I know you're mad. I know you're mad after that game because Kemba had a bad night and then he missed that shot. But yeah, he deserves the heat. I just feel like now it's a little too much. Smart's injury is more concerning than Kemba's. I mean, we're not going to debate that here, but he's better off as a first option in Washington. Let's push for Beal and Lopez. I don't think you're getting Kemba for Beal right now. The only way I can see it happen is like a 3-team trade, and I don't even know what other team you would throw in there. I mean, you'd have to take a look. I mean, maybe Orlando, like Miami. I don't think Miami's going to facilitate you getting Bradley Beal. Like, I don't know what team is going to want to deal for Kemba and be a third team in that deal. Maybe the Knicks. I don't even know about that one, but yeah, I mean, I get why we all want to trade Kemba right now, but just, cut him a little bit of slack. Tice, I mean, there were some good players in that game. I want to give some shout outs to some performances we saw tonight, because it wasn't all bad. It wasn't just, Kemba Walker kind of shitting the bed against the Lakers, against the most heated rival. We saw some really good performances. We already mentioned Tatum. What he did down the stretch was huge, 30 points. Jaylen Brown, 28 points. So we talked about the Jays getting into the All-Star game. Guys, keep the votes coming. Like 58 combined for them tonight against the Lakers. Another huge night. Just get those two. At least they're also selections. I know the game's a little wonky. Maybe it'll be played on 2K. I don't know. But, we'll see on that. And Tice had the big, those big first 10 points in the first quarter, and then he was kind of quiet after that. So wasn't a great night for Tice, certainly. It was a great first quarter, but you would have liked to see a little more in those last 3 quarters, because it would have helped out, especially in a 1-point game. I know you guys are talking about Rob Williams in the chat. How do you feel about Rob over Thompson? I mean, Thompson to me, and I've talked about it, I know a lot of people say Teague, but really Thompson to me has been the biggest disappointment of the season, because as far as any singular player goes, because he really was supposed to play the biggest role of all of our acquisitions. Like, Teague was supposed to be back at point guard, great, but Peyton Pritchard's filled that role and he's been healthy. So you don't need Teague like you need Thompson right now. And Thompson has been struggling. And Rob, I mean, Rob looked good out there tonight. Rob had a good game. He really did. And I think that you saw that. I mean, he was rewarded with what? It's 18 minutes. Thompson only played 15 minutes. So Brad Williams had 10.7 rebounds. I know he had a couple blocks in the first half. I don't know how many he ended with, but Rob over Thompson, I get it why Brad's doing that right now, because Thompson has not looked good, and I don't know what they do with him. I know I've seen some things online about them potentially trading him. Rob just finished with 2 blocks. He didn't end up getting any more, but I don't have a problem with Rob over Thompson. I really don't. Williams did good with some minutes. Absolutely right. Crazy. He did. Tice defense wasn't great down the stretch. I mean, it wasn't. And we saw them. It was interesting to see how they guarded Davis with Jaylen Brown instead of Tice at times. But yeah, Tice for the last 3 quarters of that game was not good. We need a young guard who can play defense and play make. Tatum and Brown have come a long way on both ends. Kemba just doesn't fit in a smaller Kemba doesn't fit in similar to Hayward. I worry that we're pushing good players out the door. And here's what I mean by that. It seems like the third guy is always the guy that people want to shake it up with, or the last guy, the last star. So Hayward, get him out. He doesn't fit. Kemba, get him out now. He doesn't fit. Cleveland in the big 3 of Kyrie, LeBron, and Love. Kevin Love, get him out. Trade him. Doesn't fit. Chris Bosh, get him out. Ray Allen, he doesn't fit. Get him out of here. It's always that last guy in that group that gets a lot of heat that people want to get rid of. And I think the reason for that is because he just doesn't compare to those other 2 guys who are great players. And we need to slow down a little bit on that. Like, you don't always need to shake it up. I think Kemba, Brown, and Tatum can still work together. Would I like a younger star? Sure, but those aren't exactly falling off trees. Like, you can't, no one's going to be knocking down your door to trade a young star point guard for Kemba Walker. Like, De'Aaron Fox isn't, going to come from Sacramento. Sacramento's not going to call you up and say, hey, we'll take Kemba for De'Aaron Fox. Like, that's not happening. So that's going to be a tough trade to facilitate. Jokic, Wood, Ingram, Doncic, Paul, Brown, Tatum, Vucevic, Grant, Beal, Grant. Got my first round of all-star votes. Nice, Veronica. Nice. Let's get Edwards a shot at the 1. Edwards, Look, I get what you're saying. Like, as far as maybe just giving him more minutes, that's fine. Carson Edwards is not going to be better than Kemba Walker. I'm sorry. I mean, tonight, like, maybe he would have been just for one night, but on average, like, Kemba Walker is always going to be the better player. He's still like a borderline all-star, guys. He's still that guy until proven otherwise. And by until proven otherwise, I mean, like, we're going to need to see this kind of play for a few weeks before we say bench him or something. Like, I don't think that point is coming anytime soon. And I would venture to guess we're going to see another 20-point night from Kemba Walker within the week. Like, I don't think he's going to be, 4 of 14 or whatever it was. I don't think he's going to score 4 points every night, 2 of 11. Like, I don't think that's happening. I see you guys talk about Rob Williams, a budding star. Williams did good in his minutes, all that stuff. We don't need an all-star at the point. We need a facilitator. It's an interesting point. You think back to the Big Three era, the Celtics' last Big Three era with Ray, Pierce, and Garnett. That's what they had. They had a facilitator at a point. It worked. But ultimately, I don't know if it's that simple. I think what it comes down to is you need 3 stars, however you can get them. And if they fit together, great. If they don't, make them fit. I think that's kind of the way it works in the NBA. That's what you're seeing with Brooklyn now is, like, do Kyrie and Harden fit together? Probably not. Just make them fit because they're all so good. It's all about the talent. So if you can find a player of equal talent to Kemba that fits better, like, great, awesome. I'm all for it. Do it. But it's not that easy. Like, it really isn't that easy as saying, let's get someone that fits well with these guys. Like, it's not always, it's not like 2K where you can just build a team out of whatever players you want. It's really hard. And like in an ideal world, they'd be able to do that. But, we'll see if anything happens. I don't see them trading Kemba this year. We need DeJounte Murray. DeJounte Murry, I mean, he's a great defender. He'd be a great fit on this team. I certainly think, but you still need a third scorer. You can't. Brown and Tatum can't do it all. You still need a guy that can score 20 points a night besides them. So DeJounte could do that to some extent, but he's not perfect either. Like, I'm sure people would nitpick if DeJounte Murray was here. We don't need an all-star. Yeah, I read that one already. Valid point, but I don't think it's that we just believed Kemba was a better fit. The sad thing is, if he can't score because he was injured or whatever, he's a defensive liability and we won't win. That's true. But I'm not ready to, I'm not ready to give up on Kemba being a good scorer. I still think Kemba Walker has that in him, and it was just one bad night. And he's still getting, back. He's still getting his footing back as for coming back from the injury. I get what you're saying. Like, it was a bad night to have a bad night. Okay, it was against the Lakers. It was national TV. It was high profile. Everyone was watching. Everybody's heard about Kemba's issues to this point, and you tune into this game, big game, and you're expecting to see the Celtics have a great game, and Kemba, does that on a national stage. It's not a good look, but it's still just one game, and it's still just one night, and he can still bounce back and change people's minds. Let's see. Griffin is a point. He just wants to win. You can see he just steps it up when they're competitive. He would excel here. Are you saying Blake Griffin? That's interesting. Oh, you could scoop Griffin or Gordon at the 4. Oh, I see you are seeing Blake Griffin. I don't think you can get Gordon with the exception. Blake's contract is a little too high, so you can't quite get Blake with that trade exception. I personally do like Aaron Gordon. I've championed the get Aaron Gordon cause for a while. I like that idea for sure. I think that's a good player to use your trade exception on. It'll be interesting to see how the Celtics like that, because they have liked playing Tatum and Brown at the 3 and the 4 and Smart at the 2. It seems they're quite fond of that. Would they be willing to move Smart back to the bench and move Brown back to the 2 and everything like that? Like, I don't know. But I like that idea. I like Aaron Gordon. I think he would be great. Korver's still out there. Is it because he wants more than the minimum? I think it's because Korver is a little. I mean, he's a little long in the tooth, and he can't guard anybody in the NBA right now, Kyle Korver. So I think that has a lot more to do with it than money. I can't speak on if Kyle Korver wants more than the minimum. I wouldn't assume so. I think he'd probably be fine with that. Maybe he doesn't want to play because of the pandemic. Who knows? Like, that could be playing a factor too. Kemba plus the exception. So the problem with the exception is you can't. I don't know if I'm going to be able to explain this accurately, but basically, whatever player you get can't be making more than the exception no matter what. You can't say like, oh, we'll take the exception money and then another contract and that'll match this higher, bigger contract. That's not how the trade exception works. You can't like aggregate salaries. You can attach players to the deal, but the salary stays at 27.9. You can't bring in anybody making more than that. That's just the simplest way to put it. Is that you can't just you gotta, dude. Trust me, I'm not gonna be able to explain it on the spot like this. But Keith Smith NBA has a great explanation of it if you can find it. But you can't bring in anybody over that salary because of just the salary cap rules. That you can't, like, you could just keep stacking forever, and that's not how it works. So that's the one caveat to the trade exception. But tough night against the Lakers, and obviously the Lakers. It was going to be a tough night to beat the Lakers. Like, we knew that coming in. The Lakers had lost 2 straight, and Kemba sucks. I know we talked a lot about Kemba, guys, how bad he's been. I don't know if we still want to talk more about Kemba. Griffin, we don't need another injury-ridden start. That is true. Gordon seems interesting, but I don't think he's worth the deal, especially with Brown and Tatum can win now. I mean, the fun thing about Gordon is that Aaron Gordon lines up timeline-wise. Like, he's around the same age as those guys, so you can, they can hit their primes at the same time. You can win together. Like, that's the fun thing about Aaron Gordon. Griffin, you're right. Griffin is, you're dealing with the same problems with Kemba right now. Like, he's a bad knee. And Griffin's knee is probably worse than Kemba's. So you'd be dealing with a lot of those same issues, and he's definitely not worth the money he's getting. Like, Aaron Gordon's probably better than him right now. So, I don't think Blake Griffin works. Also, Griffin's going to want the ball a lot more on offense than Aaron Gordon is, and it's going to be a weird fit with him and Tatum and Brown. It's just, I don't think it would work. Trade Kemba and Marcus. The trade guys just won a game. I'm all for being like critical here, but it's one game, guys. Okay, so I know it's the Lakers. I know it's big, but you still got them. The Celtics are still in good shape. They're still, they were number 1 in the standings, but I don't think any of us expected them to be number 1 in the standings this year. Like, they, I think their projections were like 4 or 5, like around there, and they're in 5th right now, 10-8, half a game back of the Bucks and Pacers. Like, I know it's not where everybody loves to be, but like, you win tomorrow night, you win your next couple. You're back in 3rd place. So 16-8. Gordon's making what, 16, 17? I think he's making a little closer to 20. I don't remember exactly, but it's around there. I don't think Aaron Gordon's too overpaid. I think that's a fine contract, especially in today's NBA. Like, Marcus Smart's making 12, and there's some other guys who are also have bigger contracts than Gordon that you would probably be surprised at. So I don't think Aaron Gordon's that overpaid. I'd love to have Aaron Gordon here. The trade thought was just about tonight. I know, yeah. I get why you're bashing Kemba. I said, it wasn't just about tonight. Well, I understand that too, because Kemba, it's been a long time coming that he's had these knee issues, but you can't just trade him for nothing. So he needs to have some value if you want to get something in return. And I think Kemba, as he continues to find his footing here, he'll find his way back. 14, 7, and 5 and 4. That's for Gordon. Not as bad as a 3rd option in Orlando. Absolutely. I think Aaron Gordon, and by the way, like, think about the switchability. Like, it's all about defense. Think about how switchable your wing group would be if you had Gordon, Tatum, and Brown. Like, all those guys are plus defenders. They're all pretty good defenders. And if Gordon's willing to accept a role, like, many people have compared him to Draymond Green and said, I just wish Aaron Gordon would accept being a Draymond Green type of player, because I think he could do that so well. Maybe in Boston he'd be willing to do that. And I agree. I think he'd be great at that. Do you think we need to improve at center? Sure. Yeah, they could use an upgrade at center. I don't know the path to get one. I think the real way that if you're hoping to improve at center, to do that would be to go ahead and hope Robert Williams continues to develop, because that's your best bet. And he has gotten better here. And I think if you look at his stats compared to where DeAndre Jordan's stats were through his first few years in the league, those guys line right up, like, statistically. So I certainly think that, a center upgrade would be great. Yeah, would I like Nikola Vucevic? Sure. Go get Nikola Vucevic. Go get someone at center with the trade exception. But, it's very, very difficult. Like, you're not going to be able to call up the Magic and say, here's Romeo Langford and, Aaron Nesmith and, whatever, a bunch of prospects that we don't know if they're that good yet, but they're okay. And give us like Vucevic. Like the Magic aren't going to do that. Vucevic is a known commodity. They're not just going to give that guy away. So maybe you can buy low on Bamba. Like there just aren't a lot of great options. Justin, I see in the chat, man, what's going on? Was Grant healthy? I assume you meant Grant. I assume you were talking about Grant Williams. Grant, I didn't check. I can check to see if he. I don't think he was on the injury report. I didn't see him on the injury report before the game, but yeah, I'm not. I guess he did miss this. I guess he was out with something because he didn't play. I didn't see what it was. I didn't catch what it was before the game, but let's see if we can find it. I don't believe he was a healthy scratch. That would be odd considering how much Brad Stevens has loved playing him. I would be surprised if he ended up being someone that just didn't get any minutes because Brad didn't want him to. I mean, the Lakers matchup's interesting, but I guess he was a healthy scratch. Wow. I mean, I wish Ev was here tonight because Ev hates Grant Williams, and Grant Williams ends up being a healthy scratch tonight. That is wild. He was not on the injury report. I didn't see it before the game. That is something. Maybe was Ev coaching tonight? Did Ev trick us all? Was Ev actually coaching tonight and he didn't want Grant? Was that the reason he couldn't do the post-game show? Is because he was coaching. He wanted to keep Grant on the bench. I don't know. That's weird. Wouldn't a 22-year-old guard scoring 25 a game fit well? Like Colin Sexton. That is a shot. If you don't know what dead fishing, I believe that's your name if I said that right. If you don't know what dead fishing is referring to, Colin Sexton, the Celtics could have theoretically had Colin Sexton had they held on to the third Brooklyn pick, which was traded for Kyrie Irving. The Celtics could have drafted Colin Sexton with that pick that was ultimately traded to Cleveland. Would they have? Who knows? There's a lot of different, things that could have happened. Like maybe the Celtics would have passed on him. Maybe the pick, I don't know, would have been lower. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe the Nets would have tried harder if they Celtics had their pick versus Cleveland. Who knows, guys? But yeah, ultimately, I don't know. I think Colin Sexton, sure, he'd be fun on this team. He'd be good. But it's just we're playing. We're playing a lot of different games. There, saying we could have this guy, we could have that guy. Like we could have had Tyler Hero last year or 2 years ago if we traded up, and we could have had Tyrese Halliburton this year if we traded up and all this stuff. Like I called Felger about that last week. Yeah, I think I might have heard that. Look at Spiffy KJ. I always am, Bannertown. What's up? The Bannertown guys, be sure to check them out. They're tuning in for this one. But yeah, Colin Sexton, sure. I'd love Colin Sexton on this team at this point. It would have been tough for the first couple of years, but yeah, now he'd fit well. Would he have developed the same way if he was on the Celtics versus Cleveland, where Cleveland kind of just gave him the ball and said, you go for it, kid, and they just let him, do whatever he wanted for the first, 2 years there, and he was able to find his footing and turn into the player he is now. But would that have happened in Boston? Who knows? Would have a lot of things would have ended up differently. But I forget what before reading the comments, I was going somewhere and I totally lost my train of thought. But Tice was pretty solid tonight, but just couldn't get anything going beyond the first quarter. I think Smart. I mean, you guys. One of you mentioned trade Marcus Smart before, and Smart was, he wasn't great tonight either. He had a few plays defensively. I mean, Smart did a lot of switching, and he ended up switching on to Davis a lot, and he poked the ball free. Like he didn't do great against Davis. Davis got a couple rebounds against him, and early on in the first quarter, and the rest of the game. But Smart was able to strip him a few times, give him just cause chaos, and that's what great about Marcus Smart is he just causes chaos. But it's interesting, 2 of 7 tonight for Smart, 2 steals, a block, 7 assists. Passing was great tonight. He set up Tice a couple times too early in the first quarter, which was great. Smart was fantastic facilitating the ball. But yeah, I mean, he didn't play well shooting at least either. 2 of 7. It's not what you want to see. I mean, Tatum Brown again, just ridiculous. I mean, do you know those guys shot like 67.5% combined tonight. 67.5% combined for Brown and Tatum on 19 and 18 shots. They were 25 of 37 from the field tonight. 25 of 37. And the Celtics, they lost. So, and this goes back to what I was saying before, is you guys are saying, they don't need more shooting around Brown and Tatum. Like, they don't need another scorer. They need a facilitator, and they need all this stuff. You still need that other scorer. You still need that third scorer. And Kemba wasn't it tonight, but he can still be that. And you still need to hope he can be that. Like, hopefully you find it somewhere else. But if you can't, you can't trade Kemba for nothing and just say, well, we'll have someone facilitate, and it's just Brown and Tatum scoring. Like, the Celtics need scoring. They need, scoring other than Brown and Tatum. You can't just rely on, Tristan Thompson, Daniel Tice down low to get, dunks and Robert Williams and all that stuff. You're mentioning the Stafford trade. We did see the Stafford trade. I don't want to, Ev's giving me his Celtics postgame show. It's his baby, as he said to me. I can read Ev's text to me if you guys want. Ev texted me today offering me the chance to co-host this or to guest host the postgame show. And he said, treat her well. It's my baby. The reason he's not here, he's dealing with the dog, so he had to, and he's got some other things going on. His dog had an operation of sorts. I won't get into it. That sounds weird. He got his dog. How can I say this in a way that won't make you guys feel sad about the dog? His dog had a very traditional operation, a very routine puppy operation that makes it so that your puppy can't produce more puppies. I think you guys know what I'm hinting at. So he's dealing with that and a few other things. But, this all goes back to the point that, I saw the Stafford Goff trade. I think it's interesting. I think it's fun. But I don't want to, babysit Ev's post-game show here and just talk about football. So we're going to keep it Celtics for now. But, Stafford for Goff trade was a wild one. And 2 firsts. That is a crazy haul for Matthew Stafford. So good for the Lions, I guess. Maybe they were also trading picks to get off Goff's contract. I'm already talking. I talked about it, and I said I wasn't going to. Got to give them more shots. I'm fine with 25 shots each if they can stay above 40%. I mean, the game doesn't always work that way. Like, you can't just shoot 25 times a night, even if you're a superstar. Like, nobody really does that in the NBA. I mean, besides, a few guys who, for the most part, are on losing teams. Like, it's really not traditional to give anybody, never mind 2 guys on the same team, 25 shots a night. I'm looking up the field goal attempt leaders in the NBA right now. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see how quickly I can find it. It's really, Beal's the only one averaging over 25 shots a game. Beal's getting 26. The next highest is Tatum at 22 or 21 and a half. So I get what you're saying. I get, just feed those guys more. It doesn't always work that way. They're not going to always have open shots. They're well defended a lot. You have to rely on those guys. Every team does. Even winning teams have to rely on other guys to make shots sometimes. It just can't all run through the superstar. Off topic, but I wish Bam was a Celtic too. It's not too off topic that's fine. Bam was another guy that was picked in those late teens, and maybe the Celtics could have traded up for him too. And this is becoming a theme because, look, it's hard to find players in the middle of the draft that way, but the Celtics have gone so long without finding a guy like that you kind of look at it and say, I get what, it's tough. It's tough, but eventually you should be able to find one, right? After try after try after try. You've had so many shots in that range. You had one Romeo, and we'll see how Romeo turns out, and Nesmith, and we'll see how Nesmith turns out. But, James Young and Kelly Olynyk and Giannis was picked around Kelly Olynyk and over and over. Even Terry Rozier, who's okay, and James Young and Gersson Yabusele, and the list goes on. Danny Ainge has had so many, shots in that teen range. And, I'm not going to get on him for 1, not going to get on him for 2. You miss on 2, even 3. It's still tough. But could you have found one guy in that range who could have been a Bam, or could have been a Hero, or could have been a guy like that? That would have been great. Or a Colin Sexton. One of those years. Because if just one of those picks turned into a 3rd-level star that you could put next to Tatum and Brown. It's all you needed. That's all you needed. And yeah, they haven't done it yet. So maybe they'll do it. Maybe Romeo will turn into it. I don't know. But to this point, that is a good point. It's not just Bam. It's not just, I wish they had Bam. Sure, yeah, I wish they had Bam. I wish they had someone, anyone that you could say they used a pick like that and they made it worth their while. Chris, I was just thinking the same thing about Bam. Yeah. Just was looking at their record and wishing they would blow it up and trade Bam the Heat. Veronica, I think you're wishing a little too. I think you're asking for a little too much there. I don't know that that's happening. Kemba Smart and picks for Brad Beal. Not enough. You would probably have to trade everything. I don't know. Kemba Smart, Romeo Nesmith, Peyton Pritchard. Like, say goodbye to every somewhat valuable asset you have. And even then, you're going to have to find a third team to trade either Kemba or Westbrook because they don't fit together. So that's what you're looking at. That's the pipe dream of getting Bradley Beal. If you want the pipe dream, that's what it is going to be. Let's see. I'm not saying they have to, but get them to be more aggressive. Do you do football too? I do football. I know a little bit about football. I don't know if that's what you were talking about there. I couldn't see it. What the 90s, 2000s are full of that. I couldn't quite see there. But yeah, well, we're not talking about football right now. We'll talk about football another time. Okay, we will do that. Romeo is James Young 2.0. Chris. Oh, if our man on the pregames heard you say that, I can't think of his name right now. If our man on the pregames who comes in, he's a Romeo lover. I don't know. I clearly not here right now. He would rip you apart. Yeah, Romeo. I mean, look, to be honest with you, I'm not a Romeo fan either. I don't know that he's James Young, but he could be. But I'm not willing to go that far just yet. But yeah, I mean, Romeo, look, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's see, let's have him come back for year 2. Maybe he'll be better. I don't know. I'll give him his second year. But beyond that, I mostly agree with you. I'm just not a big Romeo guy. So I'm kind of with you on that for the most part. The Celtics should take Edwards, number 4, and give it to Marcus to remind him. Oh my gosh, man. You're a comedian. I love it. They should give it to Marcus to remind him of the 4th option. That's good. I'll give you points for that, dead fishing. That's good. Include San Antonio in the deal somewhere. Yeah, for Kemba or yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could do that. If I'm Washington, I'm not giving up Beal without getting Brown at the very least. Not going to happen. Yeah, I'd probably agree with you. Like I said, the only way I could see it happening that Washington would ever be willing to do that is if maybe Bradley Beal came to them and said I'll only play for the Celtics, which I don't know if that's super possible, but I guess there's an outside chance that could happen, that maybe he'd do that. I don't know, but that's the only way I could see him coming for less than Brown. Also, are sold on Langford. I don't see it. Yeah, I'm not. I haven't seen it yet, at least. He has an athletic body. I like on cuts and stuff when he's driving the basket. You can kind of see his athleticism. And he was highly recruited out of high school, but I haven't seen any sort of skill in his game, any sort of shooting skill or anything like that. And defensively, he's okay, but it's just let's just see year 2. I'm not going to totally count him out until we see year 2. But I haven't liked the early returns. I'd rather have Brown over Beal, and that's the debate. And I agree with you simply on age. And again, it goes back to the timeline thing. The timeline between Brown and the timeline for Brown and Tatum together lines up better than the timeline for Beal and Tatum together. Beal's going to age faster than Brown is. I'm bending down here for a second. Give me a second, guys. I just got to plug in my computer so we can go for a little bit longer here so it doesn't die. Okay. Here we go. All good. Thank you, Caldwell, about that too. Got a good laugh. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't understand the Bradley Beal love too much. Again, he's a great scorer, but again, he's leading the NBA in shots per game by 5 full shots, which is a lot. That might not sound like much, but for every single superstar in the league, for Bradley Beal to be number 1 and it's not close, 5 shots a night per game in the NBA, that is a lot. That's the biggest difference in the field goal attempts per game rankings. There's nothing more different than that. So like that's pretty crazy. So you have to factor in the fact that he's getting a lot of shots in Washington. That wouldn't be the case in Boston. Those shot attempts would come down, and defensively he wouldn't be great. Where would he fit? Would you play him at the 2 would you force him into playing the 1 with Brown at the 2 and Tatum at the 3? Then what do you have there? Like who's taking those aren't roles. Beal's not used to that role as a point guard. Like would that really work? Who knows? But here I'm just tweeting this out again. I want to tweet this out soon so I can we can wrap up rather soon, but not like too soon. So I want to make sure we get that out there. Anyway, but that would be Beal's a weird fit. He's a weirder fit alongside Brown and Tatum. If you don't have a 1, if you still have Smart around, maybe you have Peyton Pritchard around still. I don't know. Like it could make a little more sense, but defensively, it's not that good. Like Beal's fine. Beal's really good, but he's not great, and he's not worth giving up Brown for. I'm sorry. He's like Bradley Beal is just. I mean, he's a high volume shooter. He's getting a lot of field goal attempts. Like he's the only option other than like Westbrook, who's not that great anymore in Washington. So a lot of his points have to do with just how many shots he's getting, and he's a really good player still. He's an all-star level player, but he's not worth selling the farm for. Brown and Tatum are one. We're not winning without them together. Yeah, I think that's fair. And look, the other thing that people forget about that very often is Brown and Tatum are still really young, and players in the NBA don't typically win at like 23, 24. It's wait until you're like 27. I think that's when Steph Curry won, when LeBron won, when Shaq won. Like that's the age that people usually win championships. So Brown and Tatum are like exceeding where their peers in NBA history were, at least the level they were getting to at their age. So I think that does, need to. I think that we do need to recognize that a little bit. I give up Tatum before Brown. I'll tell you what, before this year, I don't think that was a debate. Now it is. Tatum Brown, I always was Tatum, and I thought I was never really, I never really wavered on that. You can debate that now. I mean, you really can. I didn't think it was one before, but now it is. So, I know people are going to say, like, there are some people that are still going to push back on that and say that's crazy. It's not that crazy anymore. I mean, maybe it's still a little crazy, but it's not that crazy anymore. It really isn't. You can talk about that. I'd rather trade for Cat. I think I would too. I think I'd rather have Cat, but I don't think I'm trading Brown and Tatum. I think until they show signs of not wanting to play together, I think you just keep them together. I think that's your best bet. Or we consider any trade just saying I see Brown more valuable. That's interesting. Yeah, Veronica, I mean, I think you have a case there. I really do. Cat is a perfect piece. We were talking about that 2 games ago. Is there any chance? I guess, what is your name? What is my name? My name is KJ Doyle. Bye, KJ Doyle on Twitter. But Cat, the interesting thing about Cat, and I talk about this, and all these guys, is, is there any chance? Is there any chance? And if they want to play here, the answer is yes. Because once they hit free agency, you can sign and trade a player anywhere you want. If Cat wants to come to Boston, he can go to Minnesota and say, sign and trade me to Boston. Boston can say, here's all these assets, Minnesota, have everything. You can have it. Just get us Cat. And Minnesota can just say, okay, well, I guess like if this is all we're going to get back for him, then sure, like why not? And that was kind of the thing with Gordon Hayward in Indiana, and it didn't work out. But that didn't work out because Ainge kind of hates the Pacers GM, and the Pacers GM kind of hates him, and they don't like dealing with each other in the first place. And I presumably Ainge didn't want to help a team that's competitive in his conference get better, and that had something to do with it as well. But the thing is, you're in different conferences with Minnesota. So yeah, if Karl-Anthony Towns hits free agency and he says, I want to come to Boston, and he goes to Minnesota and say, I'm either going to sign somewhere else for nothing, or you can sign and trade me to Boston and you'll get something, then Minnesota might just say, we'd rather have something. And, so you can get those guys that way too. And people forget about that. Even if you don't have cap space, you can still sign free agents through sign and trade. And people often forget that. Westbrook is fed up. Yeah, Washington's just a mess in more ways than one. No, not anymore. Not anymore now that we don't need to talk about. We're not going to get political. I would rather settle with Cat and just get a lockdown point guard like Zoe. Lonzo Ball is a fun name to throw around because I do think he'd fit rather well with Brown and Tatum. But, we'll see. I mean, he is on the trade block now, so that could be another guy the Celtics go and target. Do you believe in Time Lord long term? That's a tough question. That is a loaded question. Do I believe in Time Lord long term? I think that I like Time Lord. I don't know that I trust him just yet. I'd like to keep him around and see if he keeps developing, but like I'm not betting on him being like anything. I'm not betting on him. Like I don't think there's any guarantee. I really like him. I just I'm not putting any money on his future. I hope like I said, I think he projects kind of like DeAndre Jordan, but it's not a perfect 1-to-1 comparison. Brown Tatum is not a debate. Brown can't close games out and miss 2 free throws at the end there. Yeah, that's one play though. And Brown, I mean, he's been playing better this season. He really has. He's outscoring him, and he's probably a little better defensively too. So I know I get what you're saying. Before the season, it wasn't a debate, Dead Fishing, but it's turning into one. It really is. Let's see. I don't trust guards who can't shoot. Zoe isn't an option until he proves it for a season and can stay healthy. Once again, I prefer DeJounte Murray, LMAO. And Chris, like, that's great. I prefer DeJounte Murray too. You might not be able to get DeJounte Murray. The Spurs probably want to hold on to him. Lonzo Ball's available now, and maybe he can fix his shooting. Maybe Lonzo can fix his shooting here. And then, the other element to that is you have a great facilitator that can get the ball to Brown and Tatum. And again, that's great to me. Like I was saying, like that's all fine and good. You still need a third scorer. And if you don't have that, then Lonzo's kind of superfluous. Time Lord is future of the Celtics to 5. I hope so. I hope you're right. Add Wilts. What are you saying? Add Wilts at the end of games, like Wilt Chamberlain? Are you talking about Wilts? Oh, and Wilts. You're talking about yeah, I thought you were talking about Wilt Chamberlain. Get Wilt. The Celtics need to get. Why don't the Celtics just trade for Wilt Chamberlain? No. Brown and Wilts at the end of games. Not always. Brown's made some big plays down the stretch. He made more big plays at the end of games than he's given credit for. I remember Utah game a few years back. He had a game winner. That Houston game where he hit that crazy one to tie it. Brown's hit some big shots too. He just doesn't always get the opportunity because Tatum likes to be the man there too, and Tatum has earned that right. Tatum is really good, but I'm telling you, this year, Dead Vision, you got to come around a little bit because Veronica's right. It's a debate now. Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum is a debate now. I mean, this year it's become one, and it's fair to talk. It's fair to talk like that. You may have your opinion that it is Tatum, and that is a fine. And you know what? Dead Vision, I would probably agree with you. I would probably say Tatum too. I would still say Tatum, but it's become a debate this year. It really has. Isaac Williams is another Bam similar. Is another Bam similar to Mitch? I don't know which Mitch you're talking about. Just needs more time. I think I know what Bam you're talking about. I don't see. I mean, Bam hit his. If he becomes that, that's great. But Bam hit becoming that type of player way before Time Lord's going to. Like Time Lord's taking some time, no pun intended, to become a key player in an NBA rotation. Like Bam by year 2 was already really, really good. So. Sure, that could be the case, but it's taking a lot longer to develop. Do you ever go on Gasper and Murray for the Celtics show? I do not. If they want to have me on, that's great. But I do listen. They do a great job. I love Gasper and Murray. I loved what was the bit that Murray did last week? Murray and or Gasper and whatever it was, the Tampa Bay. I can't think of the Tampa Bay play guy's name. But yeah, go message Murray and tell him to have me on. I don't know. Robinson Knicks. Oh, Mitchell Robinson, of course. Yes, Mitchell Robinson is someone he's been compared to a lot. And yeah, Mitchell Robinson's a guy that, got his minutes with the Knicks early. He's been playing well. I think that's an interesting comparison as well. It's just, Time Lord's taking a lot longer to develop than those guys are. So I hope he does get there. But, so far he's not able to. So we'll see if he ever does that. How do you feel about Randall? You know what? I'm glad you brought this up. I saw these rumors recently that the Celtics are making calls about Julius Randall. I would like Julius Randall. I think he's a lot like Aaron Gordon, except he's his build is a lot like Aaron Gordon, and he could play, the 4 similar to the way Gordon would. He's not quite the same player because he's much better offensively, a little worse defensively, like can handle the ball, can score much better, but, isn't going to be the defender that Gordon has the potential to be. But just in terms of fit, like he'd fit in similarly, and he could certainly be that third scorer. Like I don't know if this is a wild comparison, but think of like Al Jefferson. Like Julius Randle can kind of do some of those things. He's a little more mobile than Al Jefferson was. But as far as like a post-threat, offensive-minded guy, like Julius Randle has some Al Jefferson in him. He has just a tad bit of Al Jefferson in him, especially skill level-wise. Like Al was like kind of an all-star, but could never quite get there. Only got there once in his career. And Julius is kind of like that too. So I think Julius Randle has a little similarity to Al Jefferson. But I like Julius. I'd love to bring him in. Tatum closes games. Tatum over Brown. But hey, no need to debate. We have them both. Chris, you're right. But it's people are still going to debate it. It's just what's going to happen. It's just the way it is in the city. I can't think of another good comparison. Like, it's not often you see people debating, oh, who's better on this team? Maybe Marchand Pasta, or maybe, I don't know, Welker Moss. Like, was that a thing? It's you don't often see those kind of things. But the reason we do it in the NBA is because being the number one guy is so much more important in the NBA. It's so much more valuable. So when you have two really good guys on the same team, it's like, whose team is it? And you saw it a little bit with like Curry Durant. Like Curry was the guy, but Durant's more talented. So is it Durant's team? Is it Curry's team? Who's better? Blah, blah, blah. Like you saw that thing. So like you get those kind of dynamics sometimes. And like that's why Kyrie didn't like being this number 2 to LeBron, because he was like, I think I'm the number 1. And so it's just a natural debate to have in the NBA is who's the number 1 on the team. Is it Brown? Is it Tatum? And that's why people debate it. In an ideal world, maybe we wouldn't debate it, but we don't live so much in an ideal world. Should we take a flyer on Randall? Good thought. I think this is his only year under contract. Excuse me. Plus only making $15 million. Sure, yeah. If they can get him, if the Knicks have interest in making a deal with them, absolutely. The interesting thing would be Kemba for Randall. That would be the interesting trade. Would the Knicks do that? Would the Celtics do that? If you guys really want to get rid of Kemba, that's a somewhat realistic trade for Kemba. If you want to keep it realistic and you want to talk about, finding a way to trade Kemba, which I'm not advocating for. I don't really want to trade Kemba, but if you want to keep in the realm of possibilities, Julius Randle for Kemba, just, you need to add some extra, players in there, not only just to match salaries, but for other reasons like, team needs picks, whatever else you need to add in there. But just as a, backbone of a trade, Randle and Kemba, you can start having that conversation. That is a conversation you can have. Justin in the chat. Justin Velasquez. Everybody go follow Justin Velasquez on Twitter. He's great. I love Justin. Us Knicks fans raising the 9-11 banner right now. You guys are having a decent season. I think, Justin, I think you guys are like very high in the league in defensive rating. I need to look. But let's see. NBA defensive rating. I think you guys, I don't know if you guys are anymore, but you guys were like 5th in the NBA in defensive rating at one time. I can't look at it now. I'm just going to look at defensive efficiency, which I think is a little bit different. But 6th right now. 6th. So Tom Thibodeau, hey, he's doing his job. That we could trade for him, but Sabonis would be a great fit. Turner also. Chris, back in the day after Terry Rozier's crazy playoff run where Kyrie was out, back then, I was saying trade Terry Rozier for Domantas Sabonis, and that was before Sabonis really blew up, and people thought I was crazy. And that would have been such a good trade to make because the Pacers needed a point guard at that time, and Sabonis wasn't really the player he is yet. He could have been like the Al Horford replacement is the way I said it at the time. I wish that would have happened. That was the one that got away from me. I loved that trade idea, and I wish they did it. But again, Ainge and Kevin Pritchard hate each other, so they clearly can't make a deal together. Seems like anyone looking to get bigger payday than what's available signs in the next short term. Yeah, you're not wrong. Sabonis, you good? Yes, the Pacers are probably on trading Sabonis. Chris Vucevic would be amazing. Shoots a 3 and protects the rim. Vucevic would be good. The only bad thing is he still doesn't line up age-wise, but he's a good fit short term. But is it really going to work long term? I don't know. Kemba for Randle, and we can try to get Quigley. I don't think you're getting Quigley. I don't think that's happening. You can hope, but he's playing too well. The Knicks just aren't going to give him up. Probably not though. Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe they would throw Dennis Smith at you. Yeah, I don't know. Dennis Smith Jr.'s ass. Yeah, he is. He's not good, but maybe they'd still. Last time I checked, we were 3rd. Yeah. I mean, you guys are having 6 is pretty good though. Yeah. It's pretty good. It's all right. It's better than the Knicks have been in a long time. So I don't know if this is good or not though. Because you don't want to be in that middling range. You either want to be in the playoffs, like solidifying the playoffs top 6, because 7 or 8, it's not even going to be a series. But or you want to be tanking. So I mean, maybe you're in a worse spot now. I don't know. But hey, least you're winning games. Maybe the regular season can be semi-fun, you know? I've read a ton of articles about trading for Turner or Markkanen. Yeah, Turner was the guy in the offseason. I don't know if that trade would still be possible, but certainly it would be great. Do we try to get Al back? Probably not. His contract's just too ugly right now. I don't think Al's a guy that you really want at this point. But, you know, a player like him would be great, but you don't want to be paying Al that kind of money right now. Yeah, Chris doesn't like the idea either of getting Al back. Screw the age. We need to win during these extensions, and Tatum and Brown are at risk of losing them. Perhaps. I think you might be right there. All right, guys, last question. We're going to wrap it up. All right, is it midnight yet? We've gone officially over an hour. It's about to be midnight. We got to wrap it up. I told Ev I'd take care of his baby here, the post-game show. I can't go we can't go all night, guys. All right, so we have to wrap it up here soon. All right, we can't just go all night. I would love to, believe me. I could talk Celtics until 3 a.m., but we got to make sure we treat Ev's baby right here. Okay, so let's see here. Who would you rather have, Redick or PJ Tucker? Right. I think at this point, PJ Tucker, and this is why. Redick, at this point in his career, probably can't defend anybody. Like, I don't even know where they would play Redick defensively. Like, it wouldn't be a good fit. I don't think Brad Stevens would like playing JJ Redick. I just don't. I don't think he would like putting him on the floor. So I personally would like to go PJ Tucker there. I think, he clearly has a role in this team. He clearly could play small ball 5, even at the 4 a little bit if he wanted to. And I think he'd fit well with Smart. The Celtics defense, I think, is 15th right now in the NBA. Maybe improved tonight because they didn't do a terrible job tonight against the Lakers. But PJ Tucker, to me, fits in much more smoothly. Anyway, Veronica, you said have a great night. Veronica, you do too. Gonna hire you as PR CSA. They got it. They have to. You'll hear me on Felger. Jay in Grafton. Jay, I'll look up for you, Jay. I listen all the time, so I'll be sure to listen for your calls, Jay. Shout out to you. Boston should make a run at Duncan Robinson down the line. Maybe. Again, Duncan, Brad likes to play guys that can defend, and Duncan can't. So maybe in free agency, but I don't know that Duncan Robinson would want to come here. And then again, from New Hampshire, so maybe he would want to come back home. PJ Tucker is expiring. What would we have to give up? That's a tough question. I don't think much. Probably, I bet, and it might be a lot. This might be then again, we've had a lot of first-round picks. You probably have to give up the first. If you give up a first, the Rockets probably give them up. And I think at this point, if you're the Celtics, you've taken so many rookies that you're probably hemorrhaging first. Like, you need to try to get rid of some of these picks. So, yeah, I would say getting rid of a first for PJ or Langford in second. Yeah, some people wouldn't like that. You're saying that, Veronica, but I'm fine with it. Some people like Langford. We're not one of those people. So Langford in a second probably gets it done. I think maybe Celtics fans are hoping to give up a little less than that. Maybe just a first. And I'd probably give up a first before I give up Langford, just because I think there's some potential there. And if you're getting a first, it's probably the 30th pick. So who really cares? West Coast swing coming up. Trade Romeo for anything. Chris, come on, man. Chris, give Romeo a break. West Coast swing coming up. Late nights during work week. Rest up. I'll try to, but I'm trying to think. Let me look at the Celtics schedule here, because Jack over at Bannertown, I'm sure you guys have seen his pregame shows. He does a great job on the pregame, and I'm on there sometimes. But he was talking today. He's hated these late starts for the Celtics. And, wow, they're just getting later. 10, 10, 10. So 2 and then 10 again. So sorry to Jack. He's going to have to say even later for these late starts. Poor Jack, man. He hated them. LOL trade for him, Udonis. I think it's time to end it when we start talking about trading for Udonis Haslem. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Veronica. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Fishing. It's Gear for sticking around. It's Gear. Shout out to It's Gear for sticking around the whole time. Veronica, I think you did as well. Chris, I think you joined late, man. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But Chris, shout out to you as well. Anyway, I'm giving you a shout out. And Team Zupi, thanks for coming in at the end here. I appreciate all you guys. Justin, if you're still here, man, thanks for watching as well. Sticking around for the show. I know it was a tough loss, guys, but hey, they'll have plenty more, and hopefully they'll win some of these, because they have had some tough losses here, at the beginning of the season, and hopefully they can turn it around, and they can end up winning a few of these close games, because it's been tough. Have a good one. It's Gary. You do as well. Thanks for filling in with a great stream. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let Ev know. I did okay, because Like I said, this is baby, guys. This is his baby. This is he has much more like pretty graphics than I do. He needs to teach me how to get the graphics. I was also trying to use this camera, just like wasn't working. Maybe next time I'll figure it out. I'll have Ev like walk me through it. But is Guy Boston Sports related to Guy in Boston on Felger? It is not. It is actually not. But maybe we'll have to do something. But yeah, Guy Boston Sports is just it's its own thing. Yeah, subscribe on YouTube. You know, follow us on Twitter. I run the Twitter. It's always a fun time. So just make sure you're keeping tabs and everything there. And I'm going to be doing more stuff on YouTube. I'm going to be filming some videos. I got this fancy looking camera for a reason. So we're going to be doing plenty of videos over there. I know Ev's doing his own videos, so be sure to check out Ev's videos as well. Check out some of the Tommy Points podcasts because he's doing those, and those have been a good time with Color Sports and Dante Turo, who are two great guys. So be sure to check those out as well. And yeah, guys, try not to go back and watch that final play too much because I know we talked about it at the beginning, but tough night for Kemba. But here's Kemba bouncing back. Thank you guys for joining the stream. Prediction for the West Coast swing. That's what I'll end it on, okay, because we really do have to get out of here. But let's see. Clippers, we got Warriors, Kings, Clippers, Suns, Jazz. I'll say 3-2. I say they drop two of those. I'll say they drop. I don't know which ones they're going to drop, but they're going to drop two in there. They should beat the Kings, but sometimes they slip up against them, so who knows. I'll say 3-2. I think that's, West Coast swings are tough. So, yeah, I think that's what you're hoping for. If they do any better, great. Great. Absolutely fine. Thank you guys so much for coming in, tuning in for the stream. It was a fun time. We went an hour 6. So maybe a little longer than Ev wanted to. But check out Ev next time. And, maybe I'll join Ev in the future. Who knows what we have in store. But I appreciate you guys sticking around for this one. And see me. You'll see me on the Twitter. You'll see me doing more streams maybe at other times. On the pregame show, I come on there all the time. And it's always good with Jack and Sam. And I'll do more stuff on YouTube, okay, since you guys seem to have enjoyed this, which I appreciate. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time, hopefully with Ev after a Celtics win.